and looked like Caitlin Clark just gifted her entire team her signature merch, but it wasn't just the team. Every fan that shows up to Gamebridge tonight will get the first release of Caitlin Clark's signature merchandise from Nike. Guys, hell, I didn't think they was going to do nothing. Oh, did they do something? They got the entire outside of Gamebridge completely Caitlin Clark themed. Not only just that, every fan shows up tonight getting a Caitlin Clark t-shirt. I mean, guys, I cannot make this up. Caitlin Clark is simply the talk of the internet today.
For months, fans waited for Nike to give Caitlin Clark the merchandise they believed she deserved. Then, a simple logo shirt arrived, and the internet erupted. Viral posts claimed the release had generated an astonishing $50 million in sales, sparking celebration, skepticism, and non-stop debate. But how much of that story is actually true? And why has one shirt become the biggest talking point in the WNBA?
Clark may not have played in tonight's game, but the injured Fever star still on everyone's mind as Nike celebrated its newest signature athlete.
In such an incredible way, too. CBS Sports' Scarlett O'Hara went to the pregame party, which was decked out, and her new logo, which you see right behind Bob, officially unveiled today.
At first glance, this looked like another successful merchandise launch. Every major athlete has apparel, every major brand promotes new releases, and fans lining up to buy their favorite players' gear is nothing unusual. Sports marketing has worked that way for decades.
Well, the new Caitlin Clark Nike's signature logo has been released along with a video unveiling said logo. This is a comparison. This is the logo, the two CCs intertwined together. Somebody said it looked a lot like a 1950s airline logo. And I was like, I kind of see that. There's Breonna Stewart. I can't make heads or tails of what that shit's supposed to be.
But within hours of Caitlin Clark's Nike logo shirt becoming available, it was obvious this release was operating on an entirely different level. Across basketball communities, excitement spread at remarkable speed. And before long, the conversation had evolved far beyond a single piece of apparel.
Caitlin Clark's first official Nike ad for her merchandise line for the CC logo with all of it dropped, and it is so good. And then they went and dropped a second one. They're both on her Instagram. I'm going to show you some of the first. First of all, it features some heavy hitters. Second of all, the way that it features so many places that were important to Caitlin Clark is just so thoughtful and incredible. Her neighborhood in West Des Moines, the University of Iowa, the Indiana Fever, the New Heights spot. It
was really unique. I think it's very creative for Caitlin Clark to come up with something like this. I just enjoy all of it. It's like Flora.
It's simple, yet it speaks a lot.
I love it so much.
I'm a big fan of it. Simplicity is the best. I like the design. Nike always does great with design, so I'm a huge fan of it.
Then the numbers started appearing. $50 million. Nobody seemed entirely sure where it originated, yet it spread across social media with incredible momentum. YouTube creators referenced it. Basketball pages reposted it. Fans debated it. Critics questioned it. Almost overnight, the reported sales figure became just as famous as the shirt itself. That was the moment this stopped being a merchandise story and became something much bigger. Because whether the number ultimately proves to be perfectly accurate, somewhat exaggerated, or somewhere in between, one fact immediately became impossible to ignore. Very few athletes can generate this level of attention over something as simple as a logo shirt. And that raises a much more interesting question. Clark was doing something very different. Every season at Iowa seemed to produce another unforgettable performance, another scoring record, or another viral highlight that reached far beyond traditional basketball fans. People who rarely watched women's college basketball suddenly found themselves tuning in just to see what she might do next. That growing audience wasn't made up exclusively of basketball enthusiasts. It included families, young athletes, casual sports fans, collectors, and even people who simply enjoy witnessing history unfold. They weren't just following a player anymore. They were following a phenomenon. And every record she broke only strengthened that connection.
I've received a ton of requests and DMs asking my opinion on the new Caitlin Clark logo. So this is an athlete that Nike sponsored and then created a mark for her. People are saying, it lacks any meaning or goodness, story to it. But I beg to differ. You have two C's come together, similar to the Chanel logo, but it's done in its own way with thin to thicks. The C's are facing the same way. The cool thing is the way it's designed. The two C's form a C in the middle, so that shows connection and unity at top.
By the time Clark declared for the WNBA draft, millions of people were already emotionally invested in what happened next. They wanted to watch her first professional game. They wanted to own her jersey. They wanted to follow every milestone. Most importantly, they wanted to feel like they were part of the journey from the very beginning. That kind of loyalty is incredibly rare. Most athletes spend years trying to build an audience that extends beyond their own fan base. Clark entered the league with one already waiting. Nike understood exactly what that meant. The company wasn't simply signing one of basketball's brightest young stars. It was investing in someone who had already demonstrated an extraordinary ability to attract attention, create conversation, and inspire fans to spend money on experiences connected to her career. But before anyone declares this one of the biggest merchandise stories in sports history, there is one crucial detail that has to be addressed. Where did that reported $50 million figure actually come from? And how much of it can truly be verified? The reported $50 million figure quickly became the centerpiece of the conversation, but as more people shared it across social media, another question quietly began gaining traction. Had anyone actually confirmed it? That question is what transformed this story from a celebration into an investigation.
Bro, and for all the people that was hitting me up about Caitlin Clark's signature logo, somebody said it looked like Chanel. I said it looked like Gucci. But whatever it is a luxury sports brand. I can't think of very many luxury sports brands. Guys, yeah, do you, like, I'm a fashion guy. And I understand what Nike is doing. Nike is trying to get into the luxury brand style, the luxury department style, almost a little bit getting out of sporting.
Within days, the figure had spread across basketball pages, YouTube channels, and sports discussion forums. The interesting part is that both sides had a point. As of now, neither Nike nor the WNBA has publicly released financial data confirming that the logo shirt alone generated $50 million in sales. No official earnings report has verified the number, and no company executive has stepped forward to authenticate the claim. That means the figure remains exactly what it began as, a viral online report that spread faster than anyone could properly examine it. Normally, that would be the end of the conversation. An unverified number appears online, people debate it for a few days, and eventually everyone moves on. But that is not what happened here. Instead, the discussion became even bigger. Why? But you do not need a financial statement to recognize that demand exists. The same principle applies here. Whether the final total was $10 million, $20 million, $50 million, or another amount entirely, the overwhelming interest in Caitlin Clark merchandise has been impossible to ignore. Fans have watched jerseys disappear shortly after becoming available. New product releases have generated lengthy online queues.
It feels good I can finally talk about something positive about Caitlin Clark. She finally drops her Nike logo. I think Nike's a little late to the party, but they finally dropped the logo for Caitlin Clark. Here you go. T-shirt's about to be on sale pretty soon. Your boy will definitely buy one. I'm definitely going to buy it. I like it because it's very simple. I like simplicity. I think less is more. I don't like all the extra stuff. Sometimes simple is more and just got to play on a double C's. C squared. Caitlin Clark. It does look similar to the Gucci logo. I'm not going to lie. It does.
Those moments are not internet rumors. They are visible signs of extraordinary consumer interest. And suddenly, the conversation becomes much more interesting than one viral number. Because the real question is no longer whether one particular shirt reached a certain sales figure. The real question is why nearly every product associated with Caitlin Clark seems to create the same level of excitement. That pattern did not begin with this logo shirt. In fact, fans had been asking Nike for months to expand Clark's merchandise lineup. Social media was filled with comments from supporters wondering why it was still so difficult to purchase official products connected to one of the fastest rising stars in sports. Every limited release seemed to disappear almost immediately, creating even more frustration and, ironically, even more demand. Consumers begin paying closer attention to every release, every announcement, and every rumor because they know waiting too long could mean missing out entirely. That is exactly what appears to have happened with Caitlin Clark. By the time the logo shirt arrived, anticipation had already reached extraordinary levels. Fans were not discovering her merchandise for the first time. They had been waiting for it. Which brings us to another fascinating possibility. What if the biggest story is not how many shirts were sold? What if the biggest story is that Nike may have underestimated just how large Caitlin Clark's market had already become? Because if demand truly exceeded expectations, then this release might represent something much larger than a successful product launch.
Clark is back to the Nike logo and talks about speed. So you got a lot of story going on there. So I think it's a successful logo. It's balanced, going to be easy to use. Here is my main concern. When a big company like Nike sponsors an athlete and creates a logo for them, it's like a farmer branding their cow. And it's very similar to the Tiger Woods example. And Nike made Tiger Woods a beautiful TW monogram, and it built tons of brand equity.
It could be the clearest signal yet that women's basketball has entered an entirely new commercial era, one that even the biggest brands in the world are still trying to fully understand. If Nike did underestimate the response to Caitlin Clark's logo shirt, they certainly would not be the first company to misjudge the size of a rapidly growing sports phenomenon. History is full of athletes whose popularity expanded faster than anyone expected. What makes Clark different is the speed at which it happened. Most global sports icons spend years building a commercial empire. Their influence grows one endorsement at a time, one championship at a time, one advertising campaign at a time. By the time they become household names, brands have usually had plenty of opportunities to recognize what is happening. Caitlin Clark's rise has felt completely different. In what seems like the blink of an eye, she went from a record-breaking college superstar to one of the biggest commercial attractions in American sports. Attention creates headlines. Basketball fans buy tickets. Attention changes television schedules. Basketball fans collect jerseys. Attention makes companies rethink entire marketing strategies. That is the level Caitlin Clark appears to be operating on today.
You mentioned the statement says that the two interwoven C's reflect Caitlin's connection with the fans around the globe, and the smaller hidden C represents how Caitlin's game was built from the inside out. And a quote from Caitlin says, "To me, this is more than a logo, it's a dream come true." But a lot of people do like it. They are reading heavily into the design. One person says the way it resembles a three-point line in the middle, clean lines, minimalistic, there's a touch of sophistication, and a hint of elegance we see resembled in her own personal style. Not too flashy, it's not working too hard.
Every time she steps onto the floor, something beyond the final score becomes part of the conversation. Television ratings are analyzed. Attendance numbers are compared. Merchandise demand becomes a headline. Social media engagement is measured almost in real time. Few athletes, regardless of sport, experience that level of scrutiny every single week. And perhaps the most remarkable part is that the interest extends well beyond Indiana. When the Fever travel, opposing arenas often treat Clark's arrival like a major event. But what makes it fascinating is that both arguments actually acknowledge the same reality. Whether people celebrate Caitlin Clark's influence or question how much attention she receives, they are still talking about her. That constant conversation has become one of her greatest strengths. The logo shirt may have captured headlines, but industry insiders have spent months speculating about something much bigger waiting in the wings. And if those expectations eventually become reality, this entire conversation could end up looking like nothing more than the opening chapter of Caitlin Clark's commercial legacy. If Nike did underestimate the response to Caitlin Clark's logo shirt, they certainly would not be the first company to misjudge the size of a rapidly growing sports phenomenon.
Nike's finally going all in on Caitlin Clark, and it happens with a Christmas Day commercial drop. Really a fantastic ad all around, and speaks to the appeal of Clark, and speaks to, I think, the efforts that are going to be put into her from a marketing standpoint. Not to mention the importance of 2026, the season for her, and the season for the WNBA, when you dial yourself back a second or pull yourself back from the immediacy of the ad and realize, the importance of that season taking place. But the ad drops and it says, from anywhere is kind of...
What makes Clark different is the speed at which it happened. Most global sports icons spend years building a commercial empire. Their influence grows one endorsement at a time, one championship at a time, one advertising campaign at a time. By the time they become household names, brands have usually had plenty of opportunities to recognize what is happening. Caitlin Clark's rise has felt completely different. In what seems like the blink of an eye, she went from a record-breaking college superstar to one of the biggest commercial attractions in American sports. The transition happened so quickly that even some of the world's largest companies have appeared to spend the last year trying to catch up with the audience she already had. That audience is what separates Clark from many other athletes. She does not simply attract basketball fans. She attracts attention. There is a difference. And perhaps the most remarkable part is that the interest extends well beyond Indiana. When the Fever travel, opposing arenas often treat Clark's arrival like a major event. Fans wearing her jersey are just as likely to appear in visiting cities as they are in Indianapolis. Children line the tunnels hoping for a glimpse before tip-off. Families who may have never considered attending a WNBA game suddenly decide that this is the one they cannot miss. That kind of reach cannot be created by advertising alone. It has to be earned.
It's still her. So it's like nothing in this world is original. That's what I just found out. Thoughts, storylines, everything on this earth has been done before. Even Michael Jordan admit that he took some moves from Dr. J. Nothing on this earth is original, but you just have to make it in your unique way. To me, this is a simple logo. People will recognize it, and people will like, oh, that's Caitlin Clark's logo. You know what I'm saying? So that's all it comes down to, marketability. Is it marketable? Is it simple? Is it recognizable? Or that's a Caitlin Clark shoe, that's a Caitlin Clark logo. That's all that's what comes down to. One thing I just can't stand is how come Caitlin Clark can't have anything without some negativity? Sports Illustrated posted this, but I actually read the article. It's just hater. He used random people's opinions on X and Twitter. Fans don't like her logo.
Every milestone Clark reaches seems to produce two completely different reactions. One group points to the numbers and argues that they speak for themselves. They see the sold-out arenas, the television audiences, the merchandise demand, and the non-stop media attention as evidence that she has become the league's biggest commercial force. But what makes it fascinating is that both arguments actually acknowledge the same reality. Whether people celebrate Caitlin Clark's influence or question how much attention she receives, they are still talking about her. That constant conversation has become one of her greatest strengths. In today's sports landscape, attention is one of the most valuable currencies a league can possess. The logo shirt may have captured headlines. As of now, it remains an online claim rather than a verified sales total. But in many ways, that is no longer the most important part of the story. What cannot be ignored is the extraordinary demand surrounding Caitlin Clark. Time and again, her games have drawn massive audiences. Arenas have filled whenever the Indiana Fever come to town, and nearly every merchandise release connected to her has generated enormous excitement. Those are trends that fans can see for themselves, and they help explain why every new product carrying her name immediately becomes headline news.
Caitlin Clark is going viral again for the new Nike commercial. The shoes are finally coming out. Finally, I'm trying to figure out what took so long. I really don't know what took so long for y'all to start this rollout. But hey, it's finally here. You see it. We got posted for Caitlin Clark. Here it says, Caitlin Clark's anticipated Nike signature shoe is expected to launch in spring 2026. Nike's signature roster features all-time greats, and I am incredibly proud to join some of the best athletes in the world. I'm excited to share a first look at what we've created together. Y'all should have did this. We're going into year 3. Y'all should have did this.
Perhaps the biggest takeaway is not how many shirts were sold, but what the conversation says about the current state of women's basketball. A simple logo shirt has managed to dominate social media, fuel days of debate, and capture the attention of fans, collectors, and marketing experts alike. That kind of interest is incredibly rare, and it speaks to the influence Clark has built in such a short time. For the WNBA, this is about far more than one successful merchandise launch. Every sold-out arena, every surge in television ratings, and every wave of excitement surrounding a new release creates opportunities for the league to grow. More fans mean greater visibility. Greater visibility attracts larger sponsors, stronger television deals, and increased investment in the sport as a whole. Whether someone cheers for Caitlin Clark or roots against her, the attention she generates continues to push women's basketball into conversations it has never reached before. And perhaps that is the most remarkable part of this entire story. The internet may continue arguing about the exact sales figure, but very few people are arguing about Caitlin Clark's impact. She has become one of the most influential athletes in sports, and every new milestone only reinforces how much the landscape has changed since she entered the league. So while the final sales numbers may eventually become clear, one thing already is. This story was never just about a shirt. It was about what happens when one athlete captures the attention of an entire sports world, and why that influence may continue shaping the future of the WNBA for years to come.